Hi guys, it's Tiny Tay and we're back today with some book shenanigans. In today's video, we're going to be talking about my favorite books of 2024. Please don't give me any smack about it being 2025 now. Everybody knows January is still 2024. I don't make the rules. There's like a little grace period there. As long as you get your 2024 content posted by the end of January, you're fine. And I'm fine. We're fine. Thank you for coming back for some more shenanigans. In today's video, we're going to talk about my favorite books of 2024. So, thank you for tuning in for some more shenanigans. Let's get into it. I got my iPad here that has my book list on it of my favorite books of 2024. Okay, in no particular order because I love these all too much to even be able to rate them. We're going to start off with the only one that's a series of books, and that is the Hawthorne books. The Hawthorne Legacy, the Hawthorne Brothers, Games Untold, all of them, all five I think of them. I love them. I love this series. This series has had a hold on me, a hold on my heart. Like, I loved the mental gymnastics of it. I love the games. I love the puzzles, all of it. That's so good for my brain. Like, my brain loves that. If I can guess a book or it's starting to get a little predictable, I'm getting bored, that's when the rating really starts to go downhill for me. But even though sometimes I could guess, a lot of the times I really couldn't. It's filled with love. It's filled with puzzles. It's filled with like brain teasers, and just the story is so good. Like, I could spend forever talking about it, but long story short, a billionaire named Tobias dies and leaves his fortune to a so-called stranger, Avery. She's a young girl, and Avery ends up being more connected with this family than she thinks. She moves into their family home, their mansion, and that causes so much chaos, but so many other good things come out of it. And the story is so deep. There's so many twists and turns and stories within the stories. And then one of the books is just short novellas about each of the characters, which, oh my god, deepened my connection with them so much. And we learned about Avery's mom, and we learned about Avery's sister, and then her backstory, and how basically Avery's mom and the billionaire's son were connected. I'm really trying my best not to give any spoilers here, but please read it if you're looking for a really good series. The next book doesn't come out until June. That kind of sucks. It's either June or July. But I read them all over the summer, and I just, like, if binging a book was possible, I would have binged this series. Like, it almost reminds me of the 39 Clues series that we read growing up in, like, middle school, but it's so good. The characters are so deep. Each character is so developed. And the novella book lets you know even more about the characters than you didn't know before. And it's just so good. I'm falling in love with them all over again just talking about them, and it's making me want to reread them, but I'm not going to reread them because I have so many other books on my TBR list. But if you're looking for a good series that's going to keep you on your toes and that is jam-packed with action, the Hawthorne books are the books for you. They're so good. Also, Barnes & Noble and I want to say Target has their own like copies that come with additional, you know, little inserts. This is the series for you. If anybody reads this series or has read these series, please let me know what you think. I need to talk about it. With that being said, I'm also going to insert my Fable and my Good Notes here, and I'll link it in the bottom so you guys can see my reviews. And if I have any other people that want to be book friends out there, please, let's chit chat. I love book talk. Up next, we have my second favorite book. Well, again, in no particular order, but it was the Matthew Perry autobiography. Of course, his passing pushed me to read this. I had heard great things about it before, and also I love reading autobiographies because I am nosy, and I do love pop culture. So, like, I read a lot of autobiographies this year, but Matthew's was my favorite. It was deep. It was even harder to listen to as someone in the medical field, like, knows what ECMO is and knows how hard it is to get off ECMO and the possibilities there. And just knowing that addiction is something that a lot of people struggle with. And just, it's so heavy in the best way. It also solidified the fact that I don't like Friends. That is a separate conversation for a separate day, but if anybody wants to swing back to that, let me know. But oh my god, it was so good. He's so raw. He was so real. He did not spare a single detail. I wish there was more. I didn't want this book to end. I truly loved it, and again, I could talk about it for so long because it was such a good book. I loved learning about him and Julia Roberts. Not learning, but like his point of view, deepening the connection, and like, you know, just knowing those little things. Like, I loved hearing about it. I was very interested to know how he got, you know, past and by with his addiction for so long on these TV shows, on a show with Tom Selleck, my main man. I read his autobiography too, but like, just yeah, it's so deep. If you haven't read it, read it. Listening to the audiobook of it almost felt surreal, and of course hindsight is always 20/20, but my goodness, if you haven't read it, read it. My third was Jewel Me Twice. This was such a cute, fun read. It reminded me of Leverage, and I love Leverage. I've watched every episode of the first Leverage, and I've watched every episode of the second Leverage that's now on Amazon Prime. I loved it. It reminded me of Hardison and Parker. I cannot stop gushing throughout the whole book. It was so cute. I loved the banter. I'm not a banter girl. Whenever people were like, the banter, I'm like, you know, it's really got to be good for me, and this one is so good, and especially like and it's so quick. Like, you go through so much in such a short, quick read. I think it was under like 400 pages, but like, it's so good. It's jam-packed. It's got action. It's got Interpol. It's got love, and it's got family. Like, what else could you want in a book? That's all I can really say about it, because I could talk all day about all of these. Again, if anybody wants to chat, hit me up on Fable or Goodreads. Another thing that I loved about Jewel Me Twice is that it had a wide variety of, like, the crew. Each person within the crew had character depth. I'm really hoping there's a second book of this one. Really crossing my fingers and my tingers that we do get a second book of either Celeste's Apprentice and the one that got... I almost gave a spoiler. I can't even. On to the next book. My next favorite book of 2014 was The Tattooist of Auschwitz. I know this is a combo book read. I haven't read the other 3 books yet, or 2 is it? I can't remember. I know it's like the Sisters of Auschwitz, or the 3 Sisters, and then it's the one story about the girl who's in this book, the one character, and I can't remember if there's a second or a third. But I haven't read any of those ones yet. I didn't know that they were connected. I'll say distantly connected. Like, you can read each of them individual, but I think reading them all together, people have said they've gotten a better like full picture of these people's in particular story. And this book does have a lot of mixed reviews, and if you've read it, you could probably understand why. I'm trying to think of a way that I could say it without giving spoilers. Obviously, we do know about the tragedy of the Holocaust. However, I don't want to give away what happens to this person, to Lolly, the main character. However, a lot of people thought the author did not do his story justice, and they thought that it was really rushed. I really enjoyed it, and I thought that it was very whole. I also had a lot of different emotions reading this, and World War II is one of my favorite time periods to read about, and I really thought that it was a great book. I don't like to necessarily have opinions or reviews of something that is loosely connected to someone's life when it comes to something like that. But if you were thinking of reading this book, I encourage you to read some reviews before maybe taking the plunge. My next favorite book was The Boys in the Boat. As I mentioned before, I do like reading about this time period. I love the Olympics. I read this during the summer while everything was going on in Paris, which is my favorite time. I've always loved the Olympics since I was a little girl. And I watched the movie, and the movie does not do justice. The movie doesn't even count. The movie is... I give the movie 2 stars. The book, if you want to feel the feels, if you want to feel like you're rowing with the freaking Washington crew, if you want to know what it was like when your teammate's sick, throwing up, passing out on the side of the boat, and you gotta keep counting and everybody's gotta keep rowing, read the book. I felt so many feels reading this, and again, the reviews are mixed, and some people do think that it is, you know, whatever they would like to say. Again, I really love the book. I love team mentality. Like, it was, I mean, I will not disregard what they did, and I just really, really enjoyed it, but people have mixed reviews, and because the movie did not do its justice, people don't want to read the book. But I love the book, and the book is 1,000 times better than the movie, and I know everybody says that, but this case is true. Last, but certainly not least, a book that hit me harder than I was expecting in many different ways. A lot of rage, actually. I went through like the 5 stages of grief in every single chapter of this book, and that is Educated by Tara Westover. This book hit me in a lot of ways. It hit me as a young woman. It hit me as someone who's going into the nursing field. It hit me as someone who is going into the healthcare field in a current state of people not trusting the healthcare field and science. And it also just hit me as someone who understands the complexity of religion and family. It is so much deeper than I can even begin to tell you guys. Tara overcame so much. And each chapter, it felt like we were fighting a fight. I don't think there was a single chapter in there where I didn't feel like we were fighting something. Like, literally something every chapter. And this was her life. And again, I don't want to have opinions on people's like memoirs, you know, like, but it was so good. It was so good. And it's so hard because it's like that was her real life, but I'm just hearing it from like an outside perspective, and I'm like feeling all of the feels and thinking and like truly grasping the concept of like what their life was like. And it's tough, but it is such a good read. Please check the trigger warnings on this book before you do read it, because there is a lot of intense chapters and intense adult situations within this book. But I loved it. I loved it so much. I applaud Tara for her strength. I applaud her for going through all of that stuff with her family. Like, oh, I can't say what I want to say because I don't want to give a spoiler, but oh my goodness, this book tore me apart. And I almost didn't come back together after, but Tara's strength encouraged me to. But oh my goodness, that book was a wild ride, and it was also very pleasant to see her debunk and unlearn some of the things that she learned in her family, given the situation that they were in, kind of like off-grid-ish. Again, I really try my best not to give any spoilers throughout this whole thing. I'm sorry this is kind of a long video, but all of these books deserve justice. I read so many books in 2024, but these are just some of my favorites that I came up with off the top of my head, and I hope you guys really appreciate my reviews or my book opinions. If you want to do more of these, let me know. But thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys so much. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment. And hit me up on Goodreads. Bye!